The Louie Tee Network is powered by the Card Collector Series. Join me, your man, Louie Tee, on my journey back into the card collecting space with the Card Collector Series on YouTube. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Washington Football Overtime. Washington 22, Giants 7. Got a couple of things I want to say to start off this show. Congratulations to Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson for respectively crossing the 1,000-yard thresholds in their respective categories. Terry needed 40 yards to have 1,000 on the season, and we weren't 100% sure he was going to get it with the way the final month of the season has gone for Terry. But they made a concerted effort, which is, to me, a frustrating thing to watch, because I get it. Granted, the Giants aren't Dallas or Philadelphia or any of the teams we played down the stretch. I don't care. They made a concerted effort to get 17 to football. Why can't we do that every single week? I don't understand the logic of not getting your best players involved early and often in football games, but they did that today. You could see they went out of their way. Heinicke only had 9 completions on the afternoon, and probably 5 or 6 went to Terry, and they were very early in the game to get Terry his 40 yards and 1,000 for the season. So congratulations to Terry McLaurin for having back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the first time since, I think they said, Henry Ellard from 94 to like 96, which is it's to me a microcosm of what we are as an organization. Every time we find out something new about this team and the ineptitude of it and how long it's been since something's occurred positively, it just reminds you of how bad we've been for so long. Also, Antonio Gibson, I didn't think he would make it. I talked about this on the live show on Thursday night, that he needed 109 yards to eclipse 1,000 for the season. Now, I've already said 1,000 yards isn't what it once was. 1,000 yards was really a true milestone in a 14-game season. When they went to 16, truly you only needed to average like 63 yards a game to get to 1,000. But yet a lot of guys don't make it to 1,000 yards in a 16-game set. Now it's 17. You have no business not making 1,000 yards. If you play in about 15 of those games, you should make it to 1,000 yards. Nonetheless, for what has been somewhat of a up and down season with the fumbles and him battling injuries down the stretch of this season and not being as big a part of the passing game as we would have liked him to, and having a massive step back in the touchdown department. Last year at 13 touchdowns. This year, I think only 6 or 7. It was good to see Gibby get over 1,000 yards rushing, his first time in his career. And he had a career game, yardage wise, 146 yards on 21 totes. So that was a very hearty average. The toe looked fine today. It looked excellent. And to me, this was one of those games that reminds some of you out there, because there are a lot of Gibby detractors. We need to draft a real running back, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, someone asked me the other day, did I think Antonio Gibson reached his ceiling already? I'm like, no way. This guy's still young. He's only in year 2 of his career, and he shows us flashes from time to time. And I thought today was another one of those flashes type games where he reminded everyone out there that, either is a detractor or not sure about him, or, thinks he's good but wants to see more. He reminded you today of why they spent a 3rd-round draft pick on him, and why they think this guy could be the future of the running back position for the Washington football team, or whatever we're going to be called here in the next month or so. But shout out to him for eclipsing 1,000 yards on the season as well. The next order of business is that the New York Giants are the worst team in football right now. And I don't think it's close. I don't think the Texans or the Jaguars or the Lions or any of these teams that have worse records right now, all of which who won today except for the Texans, but they put up a hell of a fight versus the Tennessee Titans. I don't think they are worse than the Giants. The Giants are abhorrent right now. They are an abomination to watch. They are the worst coached team in football. And I pray that they keep Joe Judge. I've heard rumors that they are going to have Dave Gettleman retire at the end of the season. So we may hear as early as tomorrow that Dave Gettleman has decided to retire. If not, then they'll have to make a decision on him. I think we already know what that decision is, but the decision hasn't been made on Joe Judge. I don't know how it hasn't been made on Joe Judge. This team is poorly coached. They look disinterested. How about Kenny Golladay deciding, that deep ball, it's close, but I don't really need to die for it. I'm good. How about that? Like they just absolutely quit in this game offensively. Special teams and defensively, they continued to fight. And I thought the decision to run essentially a quarterback sneak on 2nd and 10 and then follow up on 3rd and 10 from your own 4-yard line with another quarterback sneak. Worst case scenario, you should turn around and hand it off if you're that afraid that your quarterback's going to make a mistake and he doesn't know enough of the offense or whatever the case may be. The worst thing you can do in that situation is turn around and hand it off. He literally went borderline water boy Coach Bouye in taking knees in a game that he was leading in. He literally went damn near Coach Bouye by running a quarterback sneak from his own 4-yard line on 3rd and 9. I mean, how cowardly is that? I mean, the Giants are a train wreck right now. And as bad as they are, I just want you guys to have a news flash. We stink. We should have scored 40 points today. We should have beaten the Giants 40-0. They should not have scored a single point in today's contest, and we should have scored 40 plus. This game should not have been close. We shouldn't have been sitting on the edge of our seat at 12-7 midway through the 4th quarter. This game shouldn't have been in a position where they had opportunities at 6-0 and 12-7. This game should have been over somewhere in the 3rd quarter. We should have been up 30-0. And instead, we're scratching and clawing, trying to keep our quarterback from making his own disastrous mistake and just running the football down the throat. Thank God for the run game today, or else this game might have been a Giants win somehow because we are a mess, okay? But we won, okay? We won the game 22-7. It was not a Picasso masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. And if we were playing anybody but the Giants today, I think we lose the football game, honestly. So just in case you were all excited about this win or you thought this meant something, which it didn't. The reason I didn't give you keys to the game or the Giants are horrible. And we knew we were going to win this game. And had we not won this game, I would have had a huge problem going 6-11 and finishing up the season with a loss to the worst team in football. I would have had a huge problem with that. But we won. We did what we were supposed to do. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. And the Giants stink, but we're not that far away from them. They're playing with a 9th-string quarterback, an offensive line that's terrible, a running back that's still trying to figure himself out and his body out. Their skill position stinks, and they're a terrible football team offensively, are the Giants. Their defense continues to fight, but they get no help from their offense. Their special teams, I actually thought, gave them a chance today. But at the end of the day, we did enough on the ground with, the offensive line doing what they did in this game. Gibson, Jonathan Williams, and Jarrett Patterson collectively rushing for well over 200 yards, throwing a DeAndre Carter, little jet sweep, reverse type action. And I think the total for Washington was up over 230 rush yards in this game. So that was what actually gave us a chance offensively. And then the defense, a lot of you don't like Bobby McCain. I was shocked, actually, when I had talked about, a tweet that JP Finley had sent out that said that this team might have been John Keim, but one of them said that the team wasn't done re-signing their own guys, which I told you they're not done. And there will be more re-signings of guys that are on expiring contracts. They already took care of Charles Leno Jr. They really, truly like J.D. McKissick. How much? I don't know. But, Bobby McCain is another name that came up of a guy that they really like. And I think he'll be back as well. And I was shocked to hear how many of you thought Bobby McCain was awful. While Bobby McCain isn't, a difference-making safety, I will grant you that. He's not Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's not, John Bates. He's not Kevin Byard. He's not Justin Simmons. No, he's not one of the elite safeties in football. He's a solid NFL starting free safety. You can do a lot worse than him. He had 2 interceptions in this game, and the biggest play of the game, you could argue, was his pick 6, because it took us from sitting on pins and needles and being one play away from the Giants leading 7-6 to up 12-0. And at that point, you didn't think the Giants were going to score twice. I didn't, at least. I couldn't speak for any of you. Anything crazy could happen. A fumble could happen. They could scoop it up and run it for a touchdown. But I didn't think the Giants were going to score twice. You know, their offense was so inept that there was no way that they could score twice in this game. So McCain's pick 6 to me was the beginning of the end of any hope the Giants had to win this football game. But they still were able to score a touchdown and make this thing a 5-point ball game at 12-7 at one point. So McCain had 2 picks in this game. I also think he was responsible for the touchdown that we gave up when we came with pressure. Looked like he decided to come down and double team the tight end when the tight end was covered already, leaving Darius Slayton wide open for the easy touchdown. So Bobby McCain giveth, Bobby McCain taketh away, which is, to me, what he's been this season. I think he's solid. I think they're going to bring him back. I hope that doesn't stop them from looking to upgrade that position. But I wouldn't be shocked if they feel like, oh, we're good. We got Bobby McCain, and DeShazer Everett will be fine, you know, when his situation is all cleared up. And we still have, you know, a slew of other guys at the safety position, including Derek Forrest, who played a little bit today. We'll be fine at safety. I hope that's not their thought process, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was. So with that said, let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Washington finishes up the season at 7-10, and same win total as last season. One more loss added to that total with the extra game. However, the 7-10 this season feels empty. You know, had we gotten a 7-10 after the 2-6 start, but not having won 4 in a row to get back to 500 at 6-6, had we gotten a 7-10, this season could have been a success coming from 2. And, you know, had we, you know, we thought we were going to lose to Tampa Bay after the bye, and had we dropped to 2-7 and somehow won 5 out of our final 8 games to get to, you know, 7-10, you would say to yourself, wow, you know, that's not a bad finish for Rivera and company. But to win 4 in a row, get to 6-6, get back to 500, and then have everything you want staring you right in the face with 5 games against 5 straight divisional opponents, and then to have the season unravel the way that it did. And granted, there are a lot of, you know, extenuating circumstances that really helped tank this season. No excuses. We didn't get it done. We didn't play well enough. We didn't do the little things. And it started with that Dallas game. And that's the one that, to me, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I've done it enough, but that was the one of all the losses down the stretch. That was the one that doesn't sit well with me. The 2 Eagles losses, the second game, we were already out of the playoff chase. You could sit there and say, oh, well, you know, technically we weren't eliminated. We were done. All right, so that one, I don't really care about that game. We were still dealing with guys coming off of COVID, and Montez Sweat's brother was murdered. He didn't play, and we just had, you know, a lot of things going on. In the first Eagles game, obviously that was the beginning of the end with the COVID situation just destroying our season. And then the debacle on Sunday Night Football against Dallas. The first Dallas game, that was the one you had all the momentum. You won 4 in a row. They gave you all the bulletin board material you could ask for. You're at home. Everything that you could have wanted was in that game, and you got your ass kicked by the Dallas defensive front. And it's frustrating to end up at 7-10 after being 6-6. You know, our division isn't a juggernaut. The Giants, they stink. They're the worst team in football. The Eagles, they're a playoff team, but I don't want to disrespect the Eagles because they won 9 games and they made the playoffs. But the Eagles, to me, and you know how I feel, they're not that good of a football team. Sorry, not sorry. You know what I'm saying? And so they benefited from a soft schedule. They truly did. And so to lose twice to them in the manner that we did, very frustrating. And then to have a chance to beat Dallas the first time. We weren't going to beat Dallas in Dallas. I had already resigned to the fact that we weren't going to do that. Even when we were playing good, I said, if we lose again this season, it'll be in Dallas. That was during the 4-game win streak. I said, we're not winning the rest of our games. We're not going to Dallas and winning. But I thought we could beat them in Washington. And to lay an egg the way that we did in that game, that's the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. To finish up the season 7-10 is disappointing. But There's still some building blocks with this football team. There's still some things to be excited about, but the feeling of 7 wins this year feels quite different than the feeling of winning 7 games this year. I can say that for sure. Last year's 7 wins felt like, 10 wins, even though it was 7. And I constantly had to remind myself and you guys that it was just 7 and 9. Like, don't get crazy here. It was a 7 and 9 season that led to a division title, not 10 and 6. This 7 and 10 feels like 7 and 10, and it feels like a lost opportunity. But a lot of questions linger heading into the offseason, none bigger than the quarterback position. We'll get a new name, a new identity, a new look, and that'll be cool. But at the end of the day, the quarterback position and surrounding that quarterback with enough talent to be formidable is really what this team needs to focus in on. Getting healthy is also going to be huge. Curtis Samuel, Chase Young, et cetera, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, all of those guys who are big-time contributors for this team out for the season. It'll be great to get some of those guys back next year and be healthier, you hope. Chase Roulier is another guy we've been missing for quite some time due to a season-ending injury. So you'd like to get healthy. That's what we'll do. But you got to add pieces to this football team. It starts by re-signing the guys that are here that you think are part of the solution. And then you have to go poach other players off of other rosters via free agency or trade. And then you really have to do some serious damage. I think we have to draft better than we did last year. I don't want to shit on last year's draft because it's only 1 year in. And, I'm a big have patience type of guy. I know a lot of you want to see it right now or a guy stinks. I don't subscribe to that theory. Jamin Davis made a big play in today's game on a 4th down. That was outstanding and fun to watch. But, you got to do better than what we did in the draft last year. De'Ami Brown, even with me thinking that he would be a 3rd, 4th option at best, he still was non-existent for much of the season. Really, his biggest contributions ended up being on special teams this season. That's not why we drafted De'Ami Brown in the 3rd round, to be a special teams contributor. So we're going to need more out of him next year. Sam Cosmi played well when had the opportunity when he was healthy, but he dealt with some injuries. We need him to stay healthy. Jamin Davis, again, continues to be a work in progress. Like some of the things we've seen from him, but he has to continue to grow as a football player. Benjamin St. Juste, again, another guy just like Sam Cosmi, when healthy, really played well, but two or three concussions in his rookie season doesn't bode well for his career moving forward. So that's a bit frustrating. John Bates continues to grow as a football player, like what he adds, but to me, I don't see anything more than a low-end tight end 2, high-end tight end 3 in this league out of him. I want so much more for that position than, John Bates being your second best option on the football field. And, then you get into the back end of the draft and, Derek Forrest, who I think is nothing more than a special teams player. William Bradley King, who, had a half a sack today. I think James Smith-Williams had a half a sack as well. I think Shaka Toney had a half a sack today as well. So you get to that back end of the draft, Shaka Toney, William Bradley King, Dax Milne. These are all guys that I think are going to be minimal contributors moving forward, if at all. And obviously Cam Cheeseman is probably the biggest contributor out of this draft class that you'll have when it's all said and done, because you drafted him to have a 14, 15-year career as the long snapper. So that draft right now is obviously incomplete because we're only 1 year in, but there's not even a Cam Curl out of this draft. Last year, we walked away saying we got Chase Young and we got Cam Curl, and Antonio Gibson. Like, we felt damn good about those 3 guys, no matter what. Cam Curl, Chase Young, Antonio Gibson, we got some dogs. We got some studs. I don't feel that way about a single guy we drafted this year. That now the jury's still out on Sam Cosmi and De'Ami Brown and Jamin Davis and and Benjamin St. Juste and what the ceiling is for those first 2-day guys. But I don't walk away feeling like we got a stud with any of those guys quite yet. Okay, so they got to do a better job of drafting next year. But let's get to your comment section. I don't want to talk your head off. We start the day off with a super chat from Twin D. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Twin D. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey, LT, please tell me how Judge coached that way purposely, trying to get fired. No one can be that bad. When I watched him today, I heard my guy Bad Dog in the back of my head as I'm watching this game talk about how much of a joke and how conservative Joe Judge is. And we saw it. I mean, for one, he's a clown. He's a doofus, right? You know what I call him? Fake tough guy Joe Judge. Fake tough guy. So fake tough guy Joe Judge wants to throw the challenge flag on the incomplete / interception, call when Heinicke overthrows Terry down the sidelines and Xavier McKinney's there to catch a punt. And Terry lights him up. Ball comes out. Clearly incomplete. Official initially ruled it an interception. Then he got together with his comrades, made the right decision, called it incomplete. It was incomplete. Joe Judge has his challenge flag out. He's ready to throw it. And I'm like, hey, dum-dum, it's 4th down. That was essentially a punt. That ball's 45 yards down the field. Why are you ready to throw the challenge flag? What are we doing? Unless Xavier McKinney has a clause in his contract that says if he has 5 interceptions in his rookie season, that's an extra $2 million. Unless you're trying to get your guy some extra bread, which I doubt that's a clause in his contract. What are you doing? You're going to get the football anyway. Put the flag away, dum-dum. So fake tough guy doesn't even know what's going on. They have to tell him in his ear. You can visibly see him getting instruction. Put the flag away, Joe. Put it away. We're getting the football regardless. That was 3rd down. Put the flag back in your damn pocket. Okay, I'm putting it back in my pocket. So he's clueless, right? Then the whole exchange right before the half where they 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 or 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 10, and 3rd and 9. He goes quarterback sneak, as if they're protecting a lead and the only thing that can happen that would cause them to lose the game is a fumble. So you just want to make sure you're safe. He ran quarterback sneak as if they were on their own inch-yard line. They're at the 4. Like, the guy's a clown. If you're going to be conservative in that spot, run a draw, run a screen, then turn around and hand it off. No, he goes maximum protection like you're in victory formation, and quarterback sneaks it twice in a row and then punts. I mean, are you kidding me? If nothing else, he should be fired for that and that alone. That's a fireable offense. So he did everything in his power and then had the nerve, had the audacity to be upset at halftime talking about he wants to see more from his offense. You just called a quarterback sneak from your own 4-yard line and you want to see more from your offense? You got to be kidding me. Get this guy the hell out of here, except protect Joe Judge at all costs. They have got to keep Joe Judge. The Morris have to do the right thing and give him another shot because he did not have Daniel Jones down the stretch of this season, and Saquon Barkley dealt with injuries yet again. They've got to run it back at least one more time. We gotta make sure Joe Judge isn't the right guy for the job. Everybody was ready to run Zach Taylor out of Cincinnati after his first 2 years. They just won the division this year with Joe Burrow and company. So I feel like it's in the best interest of the New York Giants to give Joe Judge another year just to make sure that he stinks. Thank you for the super chat, Twin D. DMV fan 123. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, hoping we have a better offseason than the previous one. Most/all of our acquisitions fell flat on their face, both free agent and draft wise. I don't agree with that last statement because we hit it on a lot of free agents. It's just not the ones we thought we were hitting it big on. Like, I thought William Jackson III played well on the back end of the season. After he got injured, remember, before he got injured the first time, he was struggling. Even though we say that he was a turnover machine, one of the few guys who was actually generating turnovers for this team. Had an interception in week 1. I think he had another interception in week number 5 or 6 or something like that. He was the only guy that was creating turnovers early in the season. But he was struggling. Pass interference every single week, something, boneheaded every week. He had the face mask penalty on Mike Evans in the Tampa Bay game that led to a field goal right before the half. That could have been a momentum type of play. He was struggling. But I thought after the first injury, when he came back, I thought he was lights out. Thought he played exceptional football. It was awfully quiet on his side of the football field. That's what we brought him to Washington to be, that guy that keeps things nice and quiet and tidy on his side of the field. And I thought he did that. So I thought he started to really acclimate himself well to the defense and what they were asking him to do after the first injury. Then obviously the second injury took place, and that was the end of his season. So I'm not as down on William Jackson III as some of you, but obviously the Curtis Samuel signing went awry in year one. You're hoping for, much better health-wise out of him next year and moving forward. We signed him to a 3-year deal. So you're hoping that this was a one-off and that next year he'll be healthy and a huge contributor for this football team. But, you can't dismiss the rest of the guys that they signed in free agency as if they don't exist. Ricky Seals-Jones and DeAndre Carter and Adam Humphries, say what you want, Charles Leno Jr. and Bobby McCain. Like, you can shit on these guys all you want and say that they're mediocre, they're this, they're that, but those guys were huge contributors for this football team. And without their presence, it could have been a lot worse this season. So between Charles Leno Jr. and Bobby McCain and Adam Humphries and DeAndre Carter and all of those guys that we ended up being massive contributors for this football team, I can't sit here and say that free agency was a flop, because those guys were huge for us this season and big-time contributors for this football team. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Fat American. Writes, said it once, but I'll say it again. You see that throw from Taylor Heinicke to Terry from across the field to the sideline? It took like 15 seconds to reach Terry. God. Yeah, he doesn't have a strong arm. I mean, we don't have to belabor the point. Like, we've already acknowledged that his arm strength is a weakness of his. It's something that is a hindrance. And one of the reasons that I said he's a high-level NFL backup quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, for Taylor Heinicke, this season was a success for him. Keep in mind that this guy got a 2-year deal from Washington, essentially off of 5 quarters of football, the fourth quarter of that Panthers game, and then the 4 quarters of ball against the Buccaneers in the playoffs. And he parlayed that into a 2-year contract. But Washington could get out of that contract after this season if they wanted to. They didn't have to stick around for that final year of that deal, but they're going to. And I think they're going to stick around for even longer than that, because he showed that he can play in this league. All right. He's not a starter. I think he showed that as well. But that's okay. You can do, and you heard Daryl Johnston, I thought, who eloquently put it, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Taylor Heinicke in this league as a quarterback. If we draft a young guy and he's not ready and Heinicke or Allen have to be a bridge, I'm fine with that. If they bring Allen back, he's another guy that's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. I'm fine with that. Either one of those, you can win football games with those guys. They're just not going to be able to put a team on their back and win games in a shootout and do some of the things that the elite upper echelon quarterbacks can do. It's not what you want out of Taylor Heinicke or Kyle Allen for that matter. But if you're able to manage the game, run the football, play quality defense and complementary football, as we saw during that 4-game win streak, you can win with Taylor Heinicke. You can win with Kyle Allen. We've seen that already from this team. But make no mistake about it, he's a NFL quarterback and a damn good backup. And I told you, he's a high-level backup quarterback in this league. And if nothing else, he's proven that. And he didn't have to worry about whether his NFL career will be, in the balance ever again. Heinicke has proven that he can play in this league, and he doesn't have to worry about going back to school unless he wants to. He's definitely carved out a niche for himself, and he'll make some quality money from here on out. So, his arm strength isn't ideal. We've already acknowledged that, so we don't need to beat that horse. It's long dead. Emperor Meech, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Emperor Meech writes, good job, baby. Woo! Let's go. He says, by the way, have you sold out now by only doing Washington content? If so, you discuss me, my friend. I have not. I have not sold out. I'll be back. The easiest thing for me to do right now is Washington content. But trust me, by no means have I stopped doing the podcast or, other games, overtime, any of that stuff. No, that's definitely not happening. It's just a process of getting, remember, I'm not the only one in this house, so I have to be very conscious of what everyone else has going on. And, and it's an adjustment for everyone, not just me. So yes, there's a lot going on, but no, I have not just relegated my content to Washington. So you don't have to worry about that. And you're not out of the Emperor Meats, you are not out of the woods yet. I think Joe Judge gets another year, man. Just so you know. J Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I believe we have to get a QB to win. Commanders. I told you guys that I literally go where the wind takes me with the name. The first day I was hell-bent, it's Red Tails. Then the next time I saw you, I said it's probably Admirals. Now, we're seeing, the whole Richmond Dispatch spot that was on the news about 3 or 4 days ago, where they leaked the photos of Commanders on his lap and this, that, and the third. I don't. So I've said this before. The reason why I want to dismiss it and say I think that's being done, like purposely done, to draw more attention and build more excitement, because I told you that's what this last month is going to be. Speculation all over the place. People are going to think they have something. You're going to get all these crazy conspiracy photos. Look at this. This is the smoking gun right here. And every day it's going to be a different name. But all of that is drumming up interest for the name, and that's what they want. So while I think that this whole thing is a farce with the Commanders and showing the thing on his lap and this, that, and the third, I think they're only letting you see what they want you to see. At the same time, we are still the Washington football team organization, and we bungle everything. Nothing goes clean or smoothly with this team. We are inept in everything that we do, and this whole process has been inept. Trying to roll it out, having Tanya Snyder come out, can't even get that whole process right, can't get on the same page as to what you want out there with the media. And so it would not shock me if they effed up here and allowed something to leak like that whole photo, and that actually be the name and the logo and all of that stuff. I wouldn't be shocked, because they've been so negligent at every turn with everything that's been done with this team on and off the field. So I wouldn't be shocked if they dropped it and fumbled again. But I don't think they fumbled the bag this time. I think they ultimately want these things out there. They're strategically doing this to garner and drum up more interest for the name and excitement. So we'll see what happens. Commanders, it may be Commanders. I don't really know. And obviously, we need a quarterback in order to have a chance in the division. That's without saying. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan Bell writes, when can we expect a mock draft from you? That's going to be it's going to be a while before you can get a mock draft from me. I'm not a huge fan of mock drafts. I know you guys clamor for them. My thing is with mock drafts is I need to see these players and then come up with a plan as to what direction we're going to go in. I think anyone that puts out a mock draft at this moment right now is clout chasing. Why? Because you can't possibly put out a mock draft before you figure out what your team does in the department of re-signing your own guys and free agency. Because we could sit here and say, man, we need a quarterback. Well, what if they get a quarterback in free agency? Well, then they don't need a quarterback. So your mock draft is already invalid, because if you're doing a Washington mock draft, you're getting a quarterback at some point. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the first round. But and you heard during the telecast what Daryl Johnston said that Scott Turner said to him during the week when they sat down for the interviews. He said, look, everybody says that this is a weak draft class, quarterback position. He said, but you don't have to get a quarterback in the first round. So that tells you their thought process. Like, they may not love any of these dudes, right? They may not love them enough to take them in the first round. There may be a more talented football player at a different position that they feel like can help them more. And that's what I would advise them to do. Do not reach for a quarterback. Take the guy that you deem to be the best at a position of need and keep it pushing. However, they won't be afraid to pull the trigger on a second-round quarterback. If Sam Howell is sitting there and Washington has the 39th pick in the draft, or they're scared someone's going to take Sam Howell at 33 or 34, and they trade back into the first round at 32 to take him, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, you don't have to reach for a guy, but if you deem if you deem a guy to be potentially the future of this franchise, just not at 9 or wherever the hell we end up. Okay, second round, third round, whatever the case may be. I think the Texans have something with Davis Mills. Watched him again today. Thought he gave them a chance, played his ass off against that Titans defense that's been really good this season. Like, I think, and that's a third round pick. Well, I think it was a third round pick Davis Mills was. I think it was early third round that they got him. Like, you can do a hell of a lot worse. It might have been second round. It might have come up in the second round and got it. Whatever the case may be, he wasn't a first round pick is what I'm trying to say. So I think anyone that's doing a mock draft right now is doing everyone a disservice. But again, you guys love it. You eat that stuff up. You're not going to get one out of me. Sorry, not sorry. You won't get a mock draft until the dust settles and smoke clears from free agency. Then I can assess what we truly need and what the draft should represent. So it'll be a little while before you get a mock draft from me. K80 Tick, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. And thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, pick 6, Davis stop on 4th down had me pumped for a game with little meaning. Love seeing the boys play it hard, even though there's no playoffs. I mean, they're professionals. I expect nothing less from them. And, with the whole Joe Judge situation and what he said, Ron wasn't going to allow these boys to go out here and lay an egg. But again, they were far from impressive. Don't fool yourself. I watched this game more so not engaged from a hype standpoint, but engaged from and we better not lose to these garbage ass bums standpoint. Like, I was more nervous watching this game than I was excited or anything else, because if we lost this game, I'm coming up here and I'm throwing a hell of a fit. And we won 22-7, and that it didn't feel like a loss. I'm not one of those people, oh, that felt like a loss. Now, anytime you win in this league, I don't care how ugly it appears to be, it's still a win, and it's hard to win in this league. So I'll never be one of those this felt like a loss type of guy. Only time I feel that way is when you tie and you had a chance to win, like we did with the Cincinnati Bengals over in London back in 2016. That felt like a loss because you should have won. Hopkins misses a chip shot field goal, and you allow Cincinnati to escape London with a tie instead of a loss in a season that if you just win one more game, you make it to the playoffs. But again, anytime you win, I'm going to take the win, no matter how it looks, and be proud of it. You know what I mean? But this win, was to me a microcosm of the season, especially the back end of it. But really, even during the 4-game win streak after the Carolina, I felt like after the Carolina game, this offense hasn't looked good at all. We barely got by Seattle. We barely got by the Raiders. And this game, along with the Eagles game, not the Eagles game, the first Dallas game, which we had a pick 6 in as well. Those are the only 2 games we've scored 20 or more points in. And in both of those games, we had a pick 6 by the defense. That's the only reason we scored 20 or more. You take away the pick 6 in this game, you take away the fumble by Jake Fromm and the scoop up by Tim Settle, which led to another field goal. That's 10 points that this offense had nothing to do with, essentially, because you should have gotten a touchdown off of that Tim Settle scoop up. That should have resulted in another touchdown. Instead, you have a piss poor possession and end up having to settle for a field goal. The Dallas game, Cole Holcomb doesn't get that pick 6. We scored 13 points, and that's it in that Dallas game. Our offense hasn't been really right since the Carolina game, where we scored 27 points. We scored 29 the week before against Tampa. You scored 27 the following week against Carolina. You felt like you were starting to build this momentum offensively, and then it's 17 and 15 and 15 and 20 and 16 and 14 and 13. Like, we just went down the damn toilet offensively. And, Logan Thomas being injured and J.D. McKissick getting injured. These are all major factors. But at the end of the day, our offense wasn't all that great to begin with. So when you start taking the J.D. McKissicks and the Logan Thomases of the world out of the lineup, it doesn't bode well for this offense that already lacks true weapons to begin with. So I felt like this was a game that we should win. Like, there was no reason for us to lose this game. But again, the offense was not impressive. It was literally one of those games where they just say, hey, offense, as long as you don't mess this up, you don't turn it over. And Heinicke tried to turn it over with the overthrow, almost interception, and the near fumble. If I were the Giants, I would have challenged that because I'm not sure his ass was down. And you getting sacked, why are you still fighting? Go down. And he gets hit and the ball comes out. The Giants recover. Like, he tried to turn it over a couple of times. So we were fortunate. And that's when they decided, I think they decided, okay, let's just run the ball. If we don't turn it over on offense, there's no way the Giants are going to do enough offensively to beat us. But there was no getting pumped for me in this game. Nothing could have happened in this game that was going to have me pumped. I'm sick of meaningless week 17/18 games in against the Giants in New York to finish up the season. They're some of the worst games I can recall watching as a fan. There was a game back in, I want to say it was 2017, I believe. Meaningless game, wet, rainy, wet, nasty, loss to the Giants in New York. Like, I'm sick of these games that don't mean anything that end in New York. Every year we play the Giants week 17 or 18 to finish up the season. It's usually a losing season for both teams that means nothing for either team. And the weather is just like it was today. Wet, cold, and nasty. Sick of them. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Trevor Patch. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. Lou, it took until now for me to recover from the first Dallas game. Reflecting on the last 34 games, given this organization's last decade, we are going in the right direction. Last year, 2 steps forward. This year, 1 step back, still 1 step ahead. I don't think you're necessarily wrong on that. I agree with you. I think we're going in the right direction. This year was a step back. I agree. Last year was 2 steps forward. So you're right. It is +1 in the step direction, but I think this year now there's this huge void now that you can't cover up with Ryan Fitzpatrick or some veteran quarterback, or some veteran retread, or one of the guys already on the roster in Taylor Heinicke or Kyle. Like, you can't cover up the massive hole and void that's been left at the quarterback position. We have to figure that out. Like, even if it's a guy that isn't ready to help right away, just knowing that guy is on the roster is comforting enough. But we have to figure that position out immediately. And so it's tough. Again, this is not the offseason to need a quarterback. The free agent crop stinks. The trade market, I don't know if you guys saw this today, but the trade market was weakened exponentially with the reports that the Seahawks are going to hold on to Russell Wilson. And why wouldn't they? Again, in this league, you can find another coach. It's not, the most ideal thing, especially a guy with the chops and history of a Pete Carroll, but you can find another coach. Maybe Pete Carroll's time is up in Seattle. But it's hard to find a quarterback. You don't want to be one of these teams in the quarterback wilderness. Not when you got a Russell Wilson, not when you got a Baker Mayfield. And I know some of you think Baker Mayfield stinks, and he may ultimately stink. But you know what? Having Baker Mayfield is better than having nothing. And if the Browns trade Baker Mayfield, they have nothing. And if they go into the quarterback wilderness expecting to just find some replacement for him that's going to upgrade their position, they're sadly mistaken, and they will join the ranks of Washington and the Giants and the Broncos and all of these teams that stink at the quarterback position, that are spinning in circles and don't know what the hell they're going to do. So if I were the Browns, who report before today's game they're not going to trade Baker Mayfield, and I told you guys, all of that stuff that we talked about, I said it's hypothetical because I said I don't think the Browns are going to be dumb enough to trade Baker Mayfield. It doesn't make any sense on their end. The Seahawks saying the same thing with Russell Wilson, again, doesn't make any sense on their end to trade Russell Wilson. So if those reports are true, those are the 2 biggest fish out there. Okay, I don't know why the hell you guys keep bringing up Derek Carr. He's not for sale. Has never been for sale and isn't going to be for sale after arguably one of his best seasons of his career. So again, stop bringing Derek Carr into this. There's nobody out there to trade for. they're going to have to figure this thing out. But I agree with you, Trevor Patch. We're going in the right direction. I feel that way. I still am a huge believer in Ron's plan. And I think last year was 2 steps forward. This year was a step back. And so you're still +1 in the step department. So I agree with you, Trevor Patch. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, glad we won to close out 2021, but we need a quarterback. No ifs, ands, or buts. Sign Teddy for a year or 2, draft Pickett or Corral, and have the Rook red shirt. I want no parts of Teddy Bridgewater. Again, if you're going to go with a bridge quarterback, you got 2 dudes that are great candidates, especially if you're not getting rid of Scott Turner, right? If you're not moving on from Scott Turner, which I don't think they are, then why would you bring in an outsider who doesn't know the offensive scheme to come here and run the offense when you can just run the offense with Kyle Allen or Taylor Heinicke until you feel like that rookie is ready? So again, I'm not looking to run Taylor Heinicke nor Kyle Allen out of the door. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm just looking to supersede them with a young quarterback or a veteran that is proven in this league. Other than that, if you got to go back to one of those guys, but you have the answer on the roster, I'm fine with it. The only way I'm not okay with Heinicke or Allen starting is if the young quarterback of the future isn't on the roster. And I'm not talking about a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick. I'm talking about a day 1 or day 2 draft choice at the quarterback position. 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. If that guy's on the roster, I'm okay with Taylor Heinicke or Kyle Allen starting the season off and seeing where it takes us. But if you don't have that young guy on the roster, then Taylor Heinicke or Kyle Allen can't be your starter and you feel good about it as a fan. So I don't want any parts of signing Teddy Bridgewater or any stopgap quarterback. We got 2 stopgap quarterbacks on the roster already who know the system, not looking to upgrade the stopgap option on the roster. That's dumb. And again, it's unnecessary. If you're drafting a young quarterback, you got 2 perfectly good options to be stopgaps already on the roster. Why do you need to go elsewhere looking for one? I don't have a problem with redshirting the rookie, but that doesn't work in this league. When's the last time we truly saw a guy sit and not play, even if that was the plan? The last guy was Patrick Mahomes. It does not exist in this league anymore. You can start out the first game or 2 or 3 and say, oh, we're not going to play our young guy. We're going to let him sit. But it never works. Justin Herbert was supposed to be that way with the Chargers. Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. He has to play, and it was for the best. He was outstanding, and they realized we can move forward with our young quarterback. He doesn't need training wheels. We can just push him out there and let him go. That's the new wave of the NFL. You got a young guy, he needs to play. Even Davis Mills, again, Tyrod Taylor being the constant here, gets injured. Davis Mills gets in there, and they realize, hey, this young fella gives us a chance. We like him a lot, and we want to see more of him. That's the wave of the future. Sure, Heinicke or Allen could start the first 3-4 games of the season, but at some point, that young guy is going to get in there. Justin Fields was supposed to sit out, and guess what? They realized, and Andy Dalton getting hurt helps, but at some point, they were going to put Justin Fields in anyway, right? So that's how this thing goes. We'll see what happens. J Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. J Mart, who writes, happy we won, but we needed a loss for the draft. That's not my steez. I want to sweep the Giants, especially after Joe Judge, fake tough guy running his mouth. I want nothing more than to slap them around, beat them by double digits, and make it 6 straight losses by double digits to end the season. So I'm glad that took place. Let's see. Cashmere Carter, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Cashmere Carter writes, hey, Louie T, when can the draft Kenny Pickett in the 2022 draft and still bring in Russell Wilson as QB2? What do you think about that choice? First of all, if Russell Wilson is on this team, there is no QB2 for Russell Wilson. You don't trade for Russell Wilson and have him back up anybody. If you trade for Russell Wilson, that's all you're doing. You're not drafting a quarterback, man. Like Russell Wilson has, as I mentioned already, and I just mentioned that the Seahawks already said that there's a report out there, I should say, that they're not interested in trading Russell Wilson. And I believe that doesn't make any sense to trade him because If you trade Russell Wilson, you immediately go to one of the worst teams in football if you're the Seattle Seahawks. So that's not happening. But if you draft Kenny Pickett, it would be because you don't have Russell Wilson. The only way you end up with Kenny Pickett on the roster and Russell Wilson, and I still think this is a reach, is if you draft Kenny Pickett, in the 2022 NFL draft, and then somehow Russell Wilson becomes available and you're like, look, we got an opportunity to get him and we can't pass this up. Again, if you draft Kenny Pickett, though, I don't think you're interested in going out and getting Russell Wilson at that point. And there's no scenario where you get Russell Wilson first and still then draft Kenny Pickett. So I don't think there's a way that you could end up with two guys like that on the football team. Because if you trade for Russell Wilson before the draft, then you're not drafting Kenny Pickett. If you draft Kenny Pickett, then you're not looking to trade for a guy like Russell Wilson. So it can't happen. Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, what's cracking, Lou? What's cracking, Big Money Sonny? He says, who do we root for now? In terms of what? You should have no rooting interest unless you're talking playoffs. Obviously, you want to see the Eagles and the Cowboys lose. That's all you should be rooting for at this point. If you're talking about draft status-wise, there's really nothing we can do to improve our draft status. We are what we are. We are where we are, and it is what it is. And at this point, it's a negligible difference. You win today. There are a bunch of teams with 7, 8, 9, 10 wins. We're not going to move very far. I think we were 9th coming into today's action. That win might have made us 10 or 11. Whoop did he do? It's not that big of a deal, honestly. So at the end of the day, you're going to get a good football player wherever we draft. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you're going to get a good football player. So we'll see what happens. BJ McDowell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, thanks, Lou, for getting us through this down season. Good luck to you and those growing twins. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Let the offseason begin. Get a quarterback, please, Washington. Thank you for all your support, BJ McDowell, and hope you and your family are doing well. Also, as far as this offseason, that's, to me, priority number one, and I don't think there is even a remotely close number two. Now, how they go about that, again, remains to be seen. I don't know how they're going to get it done, but they don't have a choice. They have to get it done. And Ron Rivera said on a radio program that, plan A, they have a plan A already to go out and get a quarterback. I don't know what that plan A consists of, but they better have plans B and C ready in case plan A falls through. So they've already acknowledged internally that they have to upgrade the quarterback position. So I'm not worried. We'll see what they decide to do. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Big Money Sonny who writes, please let everyone know that Russell Wilson is not coming here. I fully expect us to pick up another trash journeyman QB, garbage hype. I've already told them Russell Wilson isn't coming here. Told them that Deshaun Watson isn't coming here. Aaron Rodgers isn't coming here. Any good veteran quarterback isn't coming to Washington. So you can put all of that to rest. I've said it a million times. So I kind of just deflect those. When they send them my way, I just kind of block those and knock them, out of the way, because we all know what it is. We know that this team is either going to have to draft a young quarterback or they're going to end up, like you said, with some, veteran journeyman quarterback that no one gets excited about. You can't get excited about Mitchell Trubisky. You can't get excited about Jimmy Garoppolo. You can't get excited about guys like that, Marcus Mariota. You can't get excited about those guys. Okay, they don't move the needle at all. And the best you can hope for is a guy like Mariota or Trubisky turns out to be Ryan Tannehill, and their act 2 is fantastic, and it breathes life into this offense. But what makes you think that either one of those guys is going to have a Tannehill type of act 2? And even Ryan Tannehill still needs the aid of arguably the best run game in the NFL currently, with Derrick Henry, and a defense that's been really good this season and has been good since he's gotten there. They've had their ups and downs, but they've been a quality defensive unit since Ryan Tannehill's taken over as the guy. So even Tannehill needs the crutch of a dominant run game for him to be a serviceable, adequate quarterback to lead them where they ultimately want to go. So for me, if you even want one of those guys to come in here and have a Ryan Tannehill-like turnaround, you're going to need this run game to be consistently dominant. You're going to need this defense to step up and do what it did down the stretch of the season when it was much better. And obviously the Dallas game was the outlier. The Eagles' first game when you had half of the team out with COVID was another outlier. But you're going to need the defense to play like it did on the back end of the season and not like it did on the first half of the season. So, yes, Big Money Sonny, you're 110% spot on. Russell Wilson isn't coming here. Neither is Aaron Rodgers or, Deshaun Watson or Derek Carr, or any other veteran that you can dream about. Dream. You can dream all you want, but none of those guys are coming here. None of those guys are choosing Washington. And furthermore, what we're ultimately going to end up with, as Big Money Sonny said, is either a young quarterback or some journeyman quarterback that doesn't move the needle and doesn't generate any excitement from this fan base. Gearcell 1, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Gearcell 1 writes, LT, you are the man. No, you are the man, Gearcell 1. He says, Ron's plan must get better in year 3. Saw Judge wearing a Puma tracksuit with a matching hat. Told the media he is too legit to quit. Tragic. That's that fake tough guy. He probably had on a fake gold chain as well with a whole 5-finger ring to match. What a clown Joe Judge is. Fake tough guy. Tragic, as you would say. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, would you rather draft a QB in this draft or go aggressively after Wilson? We must get double-digit wins next year. I trust in Ron to have a good third year. Again, you can go aggressively after Russell Wilson all you want. The Seahawks are in total control. And if they say we're not trading him, that's that. Just like the Packers in the Aaron Rodgers situation. Rodgers wanted nothing to do with the Packers, and he was adamant he wanted to be traded. He stayed away during OTA because he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to come to OTAs. He was like, I'm going to just milk this thing for as long as I can. But ultimately, cooler heads prevailed. The Packers said, we're not trading him. You can stop calling us. We're not trading Aaron Rodgers. The Seahawks can do the same exact thing. You can all clamor. You can all pick up the phone and call us and hit us up. We're going to tell you and everybody else the same thing, just like the Packers told everybody else last year, we're not trading our guy. So you can go as aggressively after Russell Wilson as you want, but the Seahawks would be foolish to trade him, and they're not going to trade him. But they understand that if they trade Russell Wilson, they're going to stink for the next 5 to 7 years, more likely than not, and they don't want to put themselves in that position. So they're not trading him, and I think they are going to grab a quarterback in this draft. I think they're going to go after a guy in the second round. If you ask me, we're not drafting a first-round quarterback unless somebody falls into their lap. And I don't see how Kenny Pickett gets to wherever we are, 9, 10, 11, wherever we end up. I don't see how Kenny Pickett makes it there. So in my mind, then you're kind of fighting over the next group, because I think Kenny Pickett is probably your first quarterback taken off the board. And then it's the rest of those guys. It's Desmond Ridder. It's Malik Willis. It's Sam Howell. It's Matt Corral. And so for me, I think no one is worthy of a top 10 pick after, Kenny Pickett, if you feel that way about him. And I still don't know how I feel about Kenny Pickett. But nobody else is worth a top 10, top 15 pick after that. You're reaching at that point. And that's not what you want to do with the quarterback position. So you take the best player available at whatever position you desire, safety, linebacker, receiver, whatever, whatever you float your boat, whatever you think is going to upgrade this team. You take that guy and you keep it pushing. And then in the second round, I think that's when you really get aggressive, whether you got to trade up, package up picks, or you stand pat and a guy falls into your lap that you like. But that's when I think they get aggressive, is day 2, second round, even back into the first round, coming back into the first round like they did for Montez Sweat when they drafted Dwayne Haskins. I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happens, where you get nervous because, say, the Lions pass on quarterback at 2, wherever they're at. I think the Lions are 1 or 2, wherever they are. Say they pass on quarterback the first time around. They go Aiden Hutchinson or somebody that they think is an impact player to help. And then they decide, with our first pick in the second round, we're going to take a quarterback. That's when you get, a little bit antsy and you say, okay, we got to get in front of the Lions because they may take Sam Howell or they may take Matt Corral or whomever is sitting there that you like. Then you get aggressive and you move up. But if I'm Washington and Kenny Pickett isn't there with that first pick, I don't think you pull the trigger. And again, quarterbacks don't get pushed down, they get pushed up. Kenny Pickett will not be available at the time of Washington's selection. And I wouldn't be shocked if another quarterback comes off the board, whether it's Corral or it's Willis or someone like that. Because I look at the Giants with 2 top 10 picks. There's no way they are confident enough in Daniel Jones to not take a quarterback. I just don't know how that works. So I think the Giants are also going to be interested in a quarterback. Not to say that they will take one, but if Kenny Pickett is sitting there, I don't see how the Giants pass that opportunity up. So anyway, I said all of that to say this. They're going to draft a quarterback. I really, truly believe that. I think they're going to be aggressive in free agency to see if they can, trade for someone. But ultimately, if they don't get a quarterback via trade, I don't think they're going to sign anybody via free agency. I'm ruling that out right now because I don't think there are any quarterbacks that will be free agents that will be good enough to force Washington to pull the trigger. I think ultimately they'll either look to trade for a guy or they'll hit the draft and take a quarterback there. JB Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JB Johnson writes, we're not good enough to make the name a reveal. Shaking my head. That's precisely why they want to do it this way, because you need to have a distraction away from the fact that you're not winning on the field. If you're not going to win on the field, then got to try to win off the field. So whether we were good or not, this was going to be a rollout. This was going to be a reveal. This wasn't going to be a, hey, we got a name now. Like, it doesn't matter when you're doing something as big as changing the identity of a franchise that's been around for over, 80 years. You're going to have to do it in a manner that fits how long that team has been around. We've been the Redskins for a very long time, So this is a monumental change. And this is what you're hoping the name is going to be until the end of time. So if that is the case, it's a pretty big effing deal. And they're going to make it as such. And they should. And we'll see how it goes. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, the front office is loaded with simpletons. They'll screw up the name, free agency, and the draft. Expect more hot garbage. Salutes to Fat American. We'll see. I'm not going to call anybody a simpleton yet. I don't necessarily love the guys that they filled the front office with, but I do know that Marty Hurney, you say what you want about Marty Hurney, the capologist, but Marty Hurney, the talent evaluator, is pretty damn good at his job. That's one thing I can say about Marty Hurney. Now, I'm not the biggest Martin Mayhew fan, but we'll see. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to do their job without bias, and we'll see what happens. So, do I have the utmost confidence that they'll get this stuff right? No, I don't. But I'm also not going to shit on them before they have an opportunity because, yeah, they were here last year and they had something to do with the draft and they had input. But keep in mind, those guys got here after the season was over and they didn't have but a good 2-3 months on the job before they were in that draft room helping make decisions. Now they've got a full year on the job. They've got full grasp of this roster and what it needs and what it looks like. And so now, to me, this draft this year is their real first draft. I get it. Mayhew and Hurney were a part of last year's draft. But again, they weren't here the entire year. They didn't know what the roster looked like. They got a briefing on that. They were up to speed. Somebody brought them a bunch of notes. This is what the roster looks like. This is what the draft looks like, yada, yada, yada. This year, they know the roster. They've been here. They helped pick some of the players on the roster via free agency in the draft. Now they've had a chance to see this roster interact with one another. Now you have a chance to really sink their teeth in and put their real thumbprint on this roster. And this is a big year for them, draft-wise, free agency-wise, roster-wise. I think this is a massive year for Ron and company because this is their real first year, with them having a chance to see this thing in motion, see what these players can do, realize who some of the foundational pieces are, and now they need to find ways to add to that via free agency and the draft. So we'll see what happens. Jeff Antonio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jeff Antonio writes, "Hey Lou, what's up, Jeff? Let's say we could get Russell Wilson or draft an equal to Sam Howell or lesser talent. Which option would you choose and why?" Again, let me state this again. Russell Wilson, I don't think will be available. And even if he is, I don't think Washington's at the top of his list of places to go. I don't see how he ends up here. But hypothetically speaking, if that were to occur, I would take Russell Wilson. He's a known commodity and a guy that I still think has every bit of 7 to 10 years left in the tank. High quality years left, not just hanging on by a thread like Ben Roethlisberger, but truly, high level MVP caliber like years left in the tank, which is why Seattle would be foolish to trade him, and they're not going to. But in the hypothetical, I take Russell Wilson over any quarterback in this year's draft and anybody we could land in free agency. So it'd be Russell Wilson. But again, I think they're ultimately going to have to draft a young guy. And honestly, that's probably the best route to go. But we'll see what happens. CGM87, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Fire Mills for D-line regression. No quarterback worth drafting." I mean, again, Ron's not getting rid of anybody, that was here this year. I'm not a fan of Sam Mills. A lot of you aren't, and it is what it is. But Ron's not firing anyone, so I don't harp on things that I know aren't going to change. So I know he's not getting rid of any of his coordinators. He's not getting rid of any of his positional coaches for the most part. There may be one or two guys that are replaced. I don't think Sam Mills is one of them. And so you just deal with what you have. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Again, please tell the chat Russell Wilson ain't coming here. He's not coming here. They can, dream. Let them dream, Big Money Sonny. Okay, this is what the offseason is all about. Everyone is their most excited and most hopeful in the offseason. So now that the offseason is officially begun for this team, you're going to have a lot of fans that are going to have all these pipe dreams of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and Derek Carr, and all of these different veteran names are going to be bandied about. None of them are coming here. Not a single one. So you don't have to continue to, belabor that point, Big Money Sonny. Let them dream, okay? Let them wander off into, Washington, never land, okay? And let them do it peacefully. B-Ball God, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. And thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Thoughts on Jordan Love in Washington?" Nah, I'm good. And I was a big Jordan Love fan coming out of Utah State, but I have not liked what I've seen from him. And it's been a limited sample size, but I have not been impressed with what I've seen from Jordan Love when he has played. So I'll pass on Jordan Love. I'm good. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, people are really delusional with the QB scenarios. Ain't no one coming here but trash bums like Teddy and Fitztragic. Get a clue, y'all. That's spot on, but again, let them dream. Dream. And again, don't be a dream killer, okay? Let them dream in peace. If they dreaming, just leave them alone, all right? Let them sleep. Let them dream, all right? Protect Sports Network, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, does the QB room need an overhaul this offseason? No, it doesn't. Because an overhaul would mean you don't bring back any of the quarterbacks. You want to wipe it clean and start anew. And that's not what I'm looking to do. I told you I'd be perfectly fine with them bringing back the two backup quarterbacks, Heinicke and Allen, because both of those guys know the system. You can win football games and you can do I can tell you right now, the New York Giants are a hell of a lot better if they have either one of those quarterbacks. If they got Kyle Allen on their team, they're not 4-13 this year. I'm serious. They're not 4-13. They got Taylor Heinicke. They're not 4-13. Okay, you could do a hell of a lot worse in the quarterback department than those two guys. What we don't want is for them to be at the top of the food chain, at the top of the depth chart. That's when problems arise. So. And we don't want it to be a guy like Teddy Bridgewater or Ryan Fitzpatrick or any of these stopgap veterans either. Okay. I don't want 3 stopgap veterans on the roster. It needs to be somewhere in here, whether that rookie is at the top of the depth chart and he's starting week 1, or he's sandwiched in between those 2 veterans as the number 2 guy, or he's all the way in the back of the line at number 3. Whatever the case may be, that young guy needs to be on the roster learning and getting prepared to play. That, to me, is what this quarterback room should look like. If it's not a veteran at the very top with those 2 backing him up, then it needs to be a young guy at the top with the veterans backing him up, or vice versa. The young guy all the way at the back of the line with the 2 veterans leading the way, or that the young guy splits the difference as the backup quarterback in between Heinicke/Allen and being backed up by Heinicke/Allen. So this quarterback room doesn't need an overhaul, I don't think. BJ McDowell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I think Sam Howell is better than Tannehill and would be 10 times better in Scott's offense. If he's there in the second round, let's snatch him and start him. I've seen enough Sam Howell to know that there is some talent there. He can run, and Ron has made it abundantly clear. Whomever they draft, whatever young guy comes here, whatever guy they get in free agency or trade for, he's got to have some wheels. Ron's like, look, Dallas's defense is too athletically gifted to have a statue back there, and we need a guy that can extend. I think to hell with just Dallas's defense alone. I just feel like that's the way of the future in the NFL. You got a statue back there. You better be damn good in every aspect of the game, not just on the offense, but on defense and special teams, because you're not going to be scoring a whole hell of a lot of points on a consistent basis with a statue at quarterback. You better have a dynamic run game. Your offensive line better be tremendous to protect that guy. You better have a ton of weapons for him to get the football to so he doesn't have to hold on to it. Everything has to go right when you have a statue at quarterback. Those are so rare now. Everyone needs to be able to run. So Ron saying that to me isn't news, because I think part of the reason he likes Taylor Heinicke is his legs. But Howell can run. Howell can throw it. He, to me, has some questionable decision-making. He's not always the most accurate, but Sam Howell can play some ball. So he's interesting, but again, we'll see how it goes. You know how this thing goes, as I mentioned. All it takes is for one team to fall in love. And the Steelers are going to be more likely than not looking for a quarterback because, trust me, Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph are not the answer. They are not it in Pittsburgh. And you can add some other teams to that mix that are probably going to be looking for a quarterback. It will not just be us Even if it's not in the first round, there will be other second round teams that will be interested, that will be monitoring the quarterback situation, that will be aggressive if need be to snag a quarterback. So I think that it'll be really interesting to see how the draft turns out. And, we can sit here and talk all this shit about the quarterback position. There may be 3 dudes that go in the first round still. Even in 2019, when that draft class was ass, it still was 3 dudes that went in the first round. And Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and Dwayne Haskins. That draft had no business having 3. Should have only had 1, truth be told. 2 at most. No way they should have gotten 3 guys drafted in the first round. And so this could be another one of those types of drafts, where 3 dudes get drafted in the first round. You're like, how in the hell did that manage to happen? But that's the going rate. It's going rate now. Let's see. Charles Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Charles writes, will the D-line make a comeback next year? I hope so. Ioannidis was a big disappointment this year. Chase Young, a massive disappointment. I thought Montez Sweat was solid. I thought he took a step back, but he wasn't a massive disappointment. He wasn't the same, force. I thought he was the most improved player on the team, in 2020. I thought he followed that up with a ho-hum, season. Would have loved to have seen him stay healthy. And I think he would have ended up with 7, 8, 9 sacks, when the season was done. Because remember, he was right there with Jonathan Allen for a while in the sack department, even though we didn't feel like he was dominant. He was right there with Allen for a while. But, yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, obviously the D-line wasn't what we wanted them to be, but we'll see what happens. They don't have a choice but to bounce back next year. They can't be any worse. I say that, but Jonathan Allen almost had double-digit sacks. They can be worse. Allen could not have been as dominant as he was this year, and we really would have stunk on the D-line. So I'd say that, yeah, they're due for a bounce back next year. JB Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. JB Johnson, who writes, we clearly have zero incentive to believe next year will be better. Heinicke won't do it. No free agent veterans, no QB in the draft. How long does Ron get? I don't buy the zero incentive to feel like next year will be better. It's impossible to say that right now. You cannot make that assertion on January 9th, literally hours after the season for Washington has met its conclusion. You can't make that claim right now. Can you be skeptical of moves that will be made this offseason? Sure. But to say there is zero incentive, I think that's a little far-fetched because you don't know what this quarterback draft class is going to like. We can say that it stinks and that there isn't any definitive guy and that, it's not a great crop. It's not. That's true. It's not as good as last year's or the year before that. All right. Like I said, this is more reminiscent of the 2019 draft class. That said, you never know what it's going to turn up. You never know what guy is going to ultimately be good from that draft class. So this draft class is no different. This quarterback thing it's not an exact science. It's an inexact science. And so we think we know. We have no idea. We have no idea. One of these guys could turn out to be a stud. If everybody knew what the hell they were talking about, Justin Herbert would have been the number 2 pick in the draft back in 2020. But nobody thought he was going to be this good. So Chase Young was 2, and Jeff Okudah was 3, and on and so forth and so forth. You don't think the Lions would have taken Justin Herbert even though they had Matthew Stafford? You don't think they would have taken Justin Herbert if they knew he could be the second coming of fill in the blank? Josh Allen is what I would like to say. Next coming to Josh Allen. You didn't think they would take him? You're damn right they would have took him. You don't think we would have taken him at 2? You're damn right we would have taken him. But we didn't know. Nobody knows is what I'm trying to tell you. So to say that there's zero incentive, that this team can't get better and that there's no hope, I vehemently disagree. As far as how long Ron has, I don't see in any way, shape, or form Ron doesn't get 4 years minimum. 5 years is what I think he gets if we're not winning after that 5th year. that's it. But I don't see how Ron doesn't get at least 4 years minimum here. Protect Sports Network, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Big Dog, great stream as always. Check your IG, LOL. I saw it. I just haven't responded yet. Still talking to the missus to see what's going on. But I will let you know something soon, because I know that date is approaching. But I don't know if it's a good day or not. I think the 13th is the day that I might be working myself. But we'll see. I'll let you know. Trust me. Appreciate you. Santiago Tradell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Santiago writes, blessings to you and your new family members. Thank you for that. Really appreciate you, and blessings to you and yours as well. He says, we're getting a new name, a new logo, new culture, ? We have to escape what we used to do with organizations under Dan's past. We don't need another organization. Unwanted trash, draft our own. I said this already. As much as you want to, run from the past and have this new name and this new look and identity, take you in a new direction and leave the past behind. You can't do that. It's like trying to erase the 3 Super Bowls. Nobody wants to erase the 3 Super Bowls, right? You can't erase all of the other shit that comes with this organization. Even though you're getting a new name and a new look and a new identity, it's still Daniel Snyder at the helm as the owner, and it's still an organization that has demons. So the only thing that's going to change any of that is winning. I can't stress that enough. That's why the new name and the new look and all of that is fine, and everybody can be excited, and that's great. It really is. It's grand, okay? But if we're still losing, who gives a shit what we're actually called or what we look like? It's cool to have some black alternate jerseys. What did he do if you're still getting your brains bashed in by the Cowboys 56-14? Who gives a shit what you look like? Okay. At the end of the day, we got to win. You want this culture to change. You want, this new look and identity to mean something and to leave some of that stuff and some of these ghosts in the past. Winning is the only thing that will do that. And whether we get a veteran quarterback from somewhere else, or as you deemed it, someone else's trash, or we draft a quarterback, I don't give a shit how it is accomplished or achieved. I just want to win. Like, today is an empty feeling as a football fan when your team is playing a meaningless week 17, now 18 game. When you're watching these other games that have shit on the line, like Steelers, Ravens, or tonight Chargers and Raiders, you're watching all these games with implications, and then you're watching Washington and the Giants play out the string. And as meaningless of a game as it gets in week 18, that shit sucks. It sucks, and I'm sick of it. I want to be playing in either a meaningless game because we've already locked up a playoff spot, like back in 2015 when we went to Dallas and smoked them, but we sat down Kirk Cousins and Jordan Reed and everybody after they set all those franchise records because we didn't need the game. Unless you're sitting down and it's meaningless because of that, we should be playing meaningful football in week 18. This sucks. So, yeah, new name, new look, new identity, all of that shit's great. Win, and everything else will take care of itself. Win. Mint Game Network, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mint Game Network writes, hey, Lou, are there really any day one QBs in this upcoming draft in your opinion? I got work to do, man. I can't definitively say no. I think there may be one, maybe one or two. I've watched a lot of these guys in game action, but watching film is different than watching a game. I've watched a ton of Matt Corral. I've watched a ton of Kenny Pickett. So I'm familiar with their game. Sam Howell, I've watched a lot of his games over the years. So there's a lot of familiarity with those guys, but film watching is totally different. Game situations, okay, it's the fourth quarter with 4 minutes and 17 seconds left, 3rd and 7. You're down 4. This is a big third down. They come with pressure. How does XYZ quarterback handle that situation? Does he throw an interception? Does that pressure fluster him? They come with a blitz. Does he stand tall in the pocket, deliver the football? Does he buy more time and find a receiver to convert and ultimately lead his team to a game-winning score? What does he do in that situation? Like, these are things that when you watch a game, you're not really processing that, but when you're watching film, you are. And I get it. A lot of people, when they watch film, they have no idea time, score, any of that. I'm a guy, I'm cognizant of all of that stuff because that stuff to me matters. So that's the long answer. The short answer is there's probably one or two guys. Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral probably are the two that I would say are worthy of a first-round pick. The others I probably think are day 2 picks. Willis, Howell, and my man from Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder. I think they're all day 2 picks. That's my opinion, but that could change. I could watch film on 2 or 3 of these guys and say, you know what? I really like this guy a lot more than I thought I would. And I watched a ton of Desmond Ridder too. I'm convinced on him. I don't need film on Desmond Ridder. I know what he is as a quarterback, or at least I feel like I do. I could be wrong about him too, but I think there's at least 1, possibly 2 day 1 quarterbacks. That's about it. GearCell1, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, GearCell1, who writes, do you foresee Ron possibly making some changes to his staff? Please tell Josh Norman the patent leather turtleneck is not a good look for him. Tragic. Josh Norman, for the 2nd year in a row, going to play in some playoff football. You talk about his turtleneck and it being patent leather all you want. That man, for the 2nd year in a row since leaving Washington, was with the Bills last year, playing the AFC Championship game, and looks like the 49ers are going to find a way into the playoffs this year. And for the 2nd year in a row, Josh Norman's going to be playing some bonus football. So say what you want about Dick Sherman. Dick Sherman's finding his way to postseason football. Meanwhile, we over here playing in a meaningless game against the damn New York Giants in Week 18. That said, I don't see a lot of changes, if any, being made to the staff by Ron Rivera. I just don't. I think Ron is steadfast in his belief that his guys do it the right way. And, Ron's all about teaching, and he feels like he's got a bunch of teachers, as he likes to say. And so he feels like if you do it the way we coach you to do it, then you'll have success. I don't know about that, man. We'll see. I don't think he's moving on from any of his coaches, to be honest with you. We'll see. Charles Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, what about safeties, linebackers, O-linemen in this year's draft? I mean, all of those are positions that they should be looking at, some earlier than others. I can't tell you about any of these guys because I haven't started my process yet. That'll start here shortly. But I can't tell you about any of these positions right now. And, I don't anticipate Washington spending early draft capital on a linebacker. And when I say that, I mean, day 1 or 2. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Washington draft another linebacker in 4th, 5th round, somewhere in the middle rounds, even in the 3rd round. But I don't think the 1st or the 2nd round will be a linebacker, being that they spent a 1st round pick on a linebacker last year. So we'll see what they decide to do there. But safety is definitely in play in the 1st round, I think, even though there's a high probability that they bring back Bobby McCain. So they may not feel as, desperate at safety if they are able to bring back McCain and some of the guys that they already have on the roster. They may feel like, hey, we got enough depth, that we can take a guy, but we don't have to do it early. We'll see. Offensive line, to me, is definitely something that they can put on the back burner. With the Charles Leno Jr. re-signing, that to me signifies that there will be no offensive lineman taken day one for sure. Can't say that they won't take one day two, in the second or third. They're definitely not taking one in the first round. So we'll see what happens. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck says, y'all want me to knock Ron out or we good till next year? We don't want you putting anybody to sleep, man, especially not our guys. Definitely don't want you doing that at all. We should be good, man. Ron's fine, and I believe in Ron's plan, and I think you guys should at least, even if you don't believe in it, at least give it some more time. So anyway, I digress. That's the last super chat. So we will get out of here. There are football games that actually have playoff implications being played right now. So I'll let you get to those games. Enjoy the nightcap of Chargers versus Raiders. I will be live after that game for overtime to put a cap on the 2021 NFL regular season. And we will know what the playoffs look like officially after that game. And it's been turned upside down with the loss by the Colts to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So shit's got real interesting all of a sudden. And with the Steelers beating the Ravens, which I also did not think was going to take place, shit's really interesting now. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. That my Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Luck says, got another chat. Wait a sec. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Luck. Really, truly will appreciate you. Anyway, we will see what happens tonight. Should be entertaining. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Until next time. Now we got to wait a whole 6 months to see the fellas grace the field again. But we don't have to wait much longer for a new name and a new look. And so that is less than a month away. We'll see what happens. Anyway, you guys take care. Have a good one.
Louie Tee Network.